Hello, my name is Tita Freytag, and welcome to this first in a series of health and wellness conversations that will be happening live on my Facebook page. The first topic, let's talk about immunity. In this series, we're going to go into many things that can affect your immune system and ways to strengthen it. By the way, this is not intended to treat, diagnose, prevent, or cure anything, and we're not making medical claims. Please consult your healthcare provider. I have with me today educator and registered nurse, Sarita Angulo. Welcome, Sarita.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. You know, Sarita, you have over 30 years of healthcare experience ranging from home health, triage nurse, surgical medical missions, operating rooms. When it comes to immunity, I imagine you have a lot of great information to share. I'd like to start off with a question. I hear a lot about having a healthy gut. What does that have to do with our immunity? What does a healthy gut have to do with our immunity?
Well, actually, it has a lot to do with it. In fact, 80% of our immunity is actually related to our gut. There have been many studies over many years, and you could read forever on this subject. But one of my favorites was a Johns Hopkins study, and I just love the title. It was called The Gut, where bacteria and immunity meet. Now, a lot of people have a bad feeling about bacteria, but this is a good thing for us. And with all those studies, I'll just mention two little things in terms of how the gut affects our immunity. One thing is in production. So one example is the phagocytes. Now, that's a Greek word meaning to eat, and cells. So these are cells that eat bad stuff. Sometimes they eat infections, they eat infectious organisms. So you can imagine it's like you have something here that needs to be gotten rid of, and here comes this cell that gobbles it up and takes it away. So those are neutrophils and macrophages. So we need the production of those. Another way that our gut affects our immune system is through balancing. So you've heard of T cells, maybe. Now, I love T cells because they have great names like killer cells, helper cells, memory cells, right? There's so many types of T cells, but they have to be in our bodies in a certain proportion. And our gut balances those proportions out in order to take care of that portion of our immunity.
That's interesting. I'm sure I learned something about that way back in high school, but it's all just a blurry memory. So that's really interesting to hear that stuff. Well, obviously, our gut is really important to our overall health. How would someone know if their gut is healthy or not healthy? I mean, I talk to a lot of people who feel like they're doing pretty good because they don't have, heartburn and issues like that. So how are people going to know?
Well, there's a kind of a myth, I call it a misunderstanding, that digestive issues only show up in the gut. So they do show up sometimes in the gut, and those are the easy symptoms to spot because it's easy to notice when you have heartburn or diarrhea or constipation, right?
Right.
But there are other symptoms that aren't as easily noticed. And all those symptoms have to do with balanced gut flora, which is kind of a fancy way to say there's good microbes and there's bad microbes. Good bugs, bad bugs, right?
Yeah.
Now, this balance starts from the time we're born. We start getting some immunity from the actual birthing process and from our first mother's milk. And then there we are in the world and we're getting some bad bugs coming at us. So right there, good bug, bad bug balance starts. People might not understand that sometimes if you have a runny nose, it might be a sign that your gut balance is off. Also, again, many studies showing that an imbalance in the gut flora is associated with a whole list of things. I'll just rattle them off, okay? Allergies, disrupted sleep cycles, obesity, metabolic syndromes like diabetes, fatty liver disease, cardiovascular disease, and also neurological problems like behavior and emotional issues, and even depression.
Well, that's a long list of things. I mean, since gut issues show up in all these different ways, what can people do to make sure that they take care of their gut health?
Well, that's a really good question, and it's an important one. So I have 6 suggestions basically, and I'll just start with number 1, and that is, in order to help your guts balance with those good and bad bugs, probiotics are a really good thing to add to your diet. And that's a specific thing apart from diet. So probiotics. Now, we all know yogurt has probiotics too, but some people don't like yogurt. You can eat kimchi, sauerkraut, also kombucha. Basically, you're talking about a lot of fermented foods. So that's number 1. Now, number 2 is a little bit longer of an answer. That number 2 is improve your actual digestion. Now, you've heard a lot of times the saying, you are what you eat, but I kind of think really we are what we digest. And so this is the part where if you could help me with a little demo, that'd be great. Now, Deetha is going to be showing a little demo that shows how digestive enzymes break down foods in order to get all the nutrients out of them, okay? So she's gonna start mixing up this pudding. This pudding is a good example because it's a milk product, it's shelf stable, so it's a processed food, and it's really thick and gooey when you first open it, and that's kind of how our food is when we first chew it and deposit it into our stomachs, okay? Now, we have the ability to make our own enzymes. So you can see there, it's not going anywhere fast. So Deetha is going to put some enzymes into this pudding. Okay, we got a little capsule. So as she does that, let me just say, we do make our own enzymes. There you go. But age, genetics, and environmental factors all affect our ability to make our own enzymes. Age, because our pancreas stops producing as many secretions. Genetics, because some people are born without the ability to produce certain enzymes. Those are the little kids who can't drink milk, right? That's something that needs an enzyme. And environmental factors affect our ability too, just how our food is being grown and raised and the things we're eating now that we weren't eating as a race 100 years ago. So you can think of us being born with a bank of enzymes. Some people have a bigger bank, some people have a smaller bank, okay? So we really should be supplementing these enzymes. And any supplement that we would use should have the capacity to digest multiple types of food. The one that we're using in this demo now is the one that I have found works best. And it also has stabilized maintenance probiotics, which we talked about in number 1. So I know that I'm continually helping those good microbes, those good germs in my stomach. Okay, so Deetha, how's that pudding going?
Well, it's looking a little different than it did when I first started.
Okay, so we hope that this is showing that it's breaking down. Very good.
Should I do it now?
Oh, sure, sure. Let's see how it looks. Okay, so this is no longer a goop. So this liquid, it's breaking down all of the food in that pretend stomach, and it's breaking it down to the smallest nutrients. So now if this is in your gut, it's going to be able to absorb all those nutrients. So you have helped your body to digest better, okay?
That's great.
Yay. Great. Thanks for the demo.
You're welcome.
Now, number 3 is actually to feed your gut well. And in other words, improve your diet. The nifty part of this is if you feed your gut well, if you give it the nutrients it needs, then it also helps your whole body. Because in this scenario of number 3, your gut is an organ in your body and it needs the right things. So I tell people, and some of these you've already heard, eat more plants. And in fact, eat more raw plants. If you think of an apple, you cut it in half, you set it out in the air, the enzymes in the apple start to digest it along with the help of the air. And pretty soon the apple's brown. And if you left it there long enough, it would be completely digested. And your kids would think it was gross. So, but if you cook that apple in a pie, it heats the enzymes, which makes them no longer usable. The nutrition is still in the apple, but the enzymes aren't there to help you digest. So this is really a situation where a digestive enzyme supplement will help you to break that down and get the nutrition out of your food. So more plants and more raw plants help kind of give your body a break from processing all those processed foods. Another thing that's good is to add more whole grains to your diet. We already talked about less processed foods and less sugar, because all those bad bugs like sugar. So the more sugar you eat, the more you help the bad bugs. And finally, more fiber in your diet, because the good bugs like fiber. It gives them a really good environment to thrive in. So add more fiber into your diet. So there's the 3 ways you can help. Now, even eating well, all these things we've talked about, eating well requires enzymes because very few of us eat all raw food. So we have to wonder, do we have enough in our enzyme bank account to digest all the good food that we're eating?
Wow, that's really interesting. For me personally, I'll just share a little bit of my story. I hit a certain age and I started getting bloated every time I ate. And it was really frustrating because my pants were uncomfortable. It was just terrible. And I thought, well, this is how it's going to be now, right? But no, once I took the recommendation to take those enzymes that we did the demo with today, that bloating went away. It was really great. So I really appreciate you taking the time to be here with us and explaining this. And I'm sorry that we run out of time, but I can't wait to hear your other 3 suggestions. So just to recap, today we talked about immunity and gut health and what that has to do with immunity, what we can do to have a healthy gut. And so stay tuned for the next episode. Sarita's going to finish off with her next 3 suggestions, so you don't want to miss it. All right, thank you again, Sarita, for being here. And until next time, here's to your health.
All right, bye-bye.